Hello, I'm Fred McNeil, and you're watching QAC TV 7. Each week we have a show called Fireside Chat, and we're delighted to have with us at this show different people, elected officials, people that hold key jobs in the county, and we get to know a little bit about them, and we also get to know how they can help you. I'm delighted to have someone from the Sheriff's Department today, Major Jim Williams. Jim, thank you for coming out in very cold weather, all right? Jim and I are sitting here talking about 20-degree temperatures, 3 to 5 inches of snow coming today, and we both said we're tired of it, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Jim, why don't we do this? How we usually start the program out is just a little bit about yourself, okay? First of all, tell everybody what your role is with the sheriffs.
Well, my role now is Chief Deputy, also referred to as the Under Sheriff.
Okay.
Basically second in command. I sort of oversee the operations of the office for the sheriff.
Okay, so you're like the old first sergeant in the Army. You do the day-to-day type stuff and make sure everybody's going to do the right thing at the right time. Is that good? Okay. Now, Jim, let's leave that. We'll come back to the Sheriff's Department. How about where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? How about we let the people know you a little bit?
Well, I was actually born in a small town in north central Pennsylvania called Danville. And it was originally a small farming and coal mining town. And I guess their claim to fame is that they produced the T-rail, which was used in the 1800s for the railway system being built across America.
Okay, all right. Brothers, sisters?
2 sisters, both older, and they live in Anne Arundel County.
Okay. Now, what did Mom and Dad do? Farmers, coal miners? What'd you have?
Well, both of them grew up on farms.
Okay.
And they eventually, the families sold the farms. And during World War II, my father ended up in the South Pacific for 4 years, where he learned the electronics trade specific to radar, operation of radar units. And so after the war, when he came back home, radar started being the in thing.
Sure.
So he ended up getting lots and lots of calls and ended up landing a career with Westinghouse.
Okay, so you got a real good job. Now, was Westinghouse in Danville, or did you have to move, or what?
Close by, smaller town nearby, Sunbury, just near Danville.
Right. Let's talk about elementary school. What was Dan? I'm assuming this is the 50s?
This was, yes, 1953.
Okay. I'm not going to give you away your age, right?
1953, so you all know my age now.
Okay, all right. So what was Danville, Pennsylvania like in the 50s? A small town USA?
Yeah, it still is pretty much today, but actually I didn't live there very long. As a child then with Westinghouse, we ended up moving to New Jersey for 5 years. Okay. And then we ended up in Anne Arundel County, which is basically where I grew up.
Okay, and Dad working in Westinghouse there? Or retired? Okay.
Right next to BWI Airport.
All right, so schools in Anne Arundel County?
Yep.
Okay, what elementary school over there?
Richard Henry Lee Elementary School.
That's still there, right?
It's still there.
Okay.
The original building's not, but the school's still there.
School, because I know the name, all right. How about junior high in those days?
Corcoran Junior High, that was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade then.
Okay, that's the same. See, we're in trouble here. They know our secrets already. How about Severna Park?
Glen Burnie High School.
Glen Burnie High.
Yeah.
Now, what was a young Jim Williams, sports or theater, or what would you do? What would you do to stay out of trouble or get in trouble in high school?
Actually, I didn't get in any trouble, but no, I was, I guess today you would call him a nerd.
No, I'm the head of the nerds.
I was not into sports. Okay. I was president of the chess club.
Okay, very good.
The stamp club.
All right.
So my
nothing wrong with that.
I was a little different in high school, I guess.
No, that's good. So okay. Now, after high school, Glen Burnie, any favorite teachers? I mean, did somebody is there an old name you can come up with? Hey, that person was a great high school teacher.
Not in high school, but I can, believe it or not, I can name every teacher I had in 6 years of elementary school.
Can you? Somebody really outstanding you want to brag on? Or?
No.
Just they're all good.
I guess showing my age, it's hard to remember.
Okay, all right.
Which ones were outstanding at the time.
Now, graduating high school about 65 or later?
Graduated in 1971.
Oh, 71. Yeah. Okay, all right. Now, what did you do after high school?
After high school, I worked for a paint company for about 3 years.
In Anne Arundel County?
While I went to college, the Anne Arundel Community College.
Great school, great school.
And that's where I got my associate's degree in law enforcement.
All right. Now, what was the call? The sheriff told us in this show that he and his grandfather were eating one morning at the Annapolis Mall, and I guess a member of the Anne Arundel County police force got in a conversation, and all of a sudden he said, "Hey, law enforcement. I want to check into that. What was the turn on for law enforcement for you? A person or
Well,
something?
I actually never had any intentions of going into law enforcement. I always wanted to be a forest ranger.
Did you really? Okay.
And at the time, it was very difficult to get into that career.
Sure.
There wasn't many positions. And during that time, also, they were giving veterans preference for Vietnam War veterans. So I did go in and take the test, a written exam, and it was interesting because there was about 200 people taking the exam that day. So I asked afterwards, I said, how many people are you actually going to hire?
Probably 2.
Well, he said, definitely 1, but we would really like to hire 3.
Oh, thanks a lot, guys.
And of course, I'm looking around at people with bachelor's degrees, which eventually I did get. And of course, they were giving veterans preference.
Sure.
But it actually turned out to be a good thing because I decided, well, let me get my foot in the door somewhere. So I started applying to police departments, and the next 2 written exams that I took were the exact same written exam.
Okay, so it helped
So I
you.
kept getting better as time went by.
Now, I probably skipped a step. Was there military service? Did I skip?
Not for me.
Okay.
I'm the only one between the Revolutionary War and Afghanistan that was not in the military. The rest of my family have been.
Okay, so Anne Arundel Community College, take the test, and the first law enforcement agency was in Anne Arundel
County.
Okay.
Yeah, I got hired by them, and I spent 20 years with Anne Arundel County as a police officer. Went back to college during that time, got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and the minor in psychology.
Now, what type of assignments? Now, 20 years, that's a full, right, 20 years retirement. You retired 20. What different assignments did you have with the police department?
Well, my first 8 years was in the patrol division.
Okay. Any particular South River? Or
North District. I worked mainly Glen Burnie, Linthicum, Ferndale.
Now, this is they have a county police. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Anne Arundel County Police. Okay.
Right. They have both a sheriff's office and a police department.
Okay.
I was with the police department.
All right. And so you and a partner on a patrol car?
We worked alone.
Oh, you worked alone?
We worked alone. We each had our own little area to patrol.
So you did that 8 years.
8 years.
Okay, where'd you go? We got 12 more on the table here. What else did you?
Well, then I went into the traffic safety unit
Okay.
for 8 years.
Now, traffic safety is enforcing or educating?
No, at the time, the traffic safety unit was an administrative unit, and I was put in charge of the drug and alcohol testing programs.
Oh, wow.
And then also became one of the first accident reconstructionists in Anne Arundel County.
Yeah, okay. So you were people who were charged in the alcohol, people who were charged with DWI you had to deal with, or what? No?
Not directly. I maintained the instruments for breath and blood testing.
Okay.
I maintained the instruments, oversaw the program, generated the data, and applied for different grants and grant funding and things.
Now, what'd you do after that?
After traffic safety, I went into inspections for 1 year.
Vehicle inspections? Or?
No, that's actually the inspection unit that I worked with in Anne Arundel we inspected the police department.
Okay.
So we
internal
inspected
investigation
the inspectors.
type. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Just to make sure that the different divisions and units were doing the job.
Like an IG, Inspector General in the military, right? You checked up. That would have been an interesting job, yes?
Yes, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
I probably would have finished my career there, but then they asked me to go to the police academy as a full-time instructor.
Oh, now what were you teaching there?
Mostly traffic related.
Okay.
Classes, DUI enforcement, accident investigation.
And we're going to find out later because of what you're doing now, but I won't let the cat out of the bag. Teaching's obviously in your blood somewhere, right? Because you're doing it now as an adjunct at Chesapeake.
Yes.
So you actually, tell me more about, I'm just interested, just because I watch TV, it's bad. The internal, or would you go to a division and do like an audit, or?
Yes, it would be like an audit.
Okay.
We would look at the policies and say, okay, you're supposed to be doing this. Let's go out and find out if Northern District is doing it.
Okay. All right.
Let's go to Southern District, see if they're maintaining their vehicles properly.
Okay.
So it would vary considerably.
It was just like the Inspector General in the military. Are you following the regulations of the department, that type of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
And if they weren't, you would report to the chief or something, and they would then do whatever. Oh, that would have been interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about teaching at the academy.
That I really enjoyed,
bet you did.
and I was kind of glad I could finish my career doing that.
Now, this is Anne Arundel, or this is state?
Yep, Anne Arundel has still today their own police academy.
Okay.
And I was one of the full-time instructors there, mostly, like I said, traffic-related classes, but I was also a firearms instructor and a few other things as well. But I really enjoy doing that because when the recruits come in, they're new, they're excited, they want to learn.
How long is the academy? I'm over in Anne Arundel.
At the time, it was 5 months.
Oh, 5 months.
Yeah, it's probably about the same, give or take a few
Live-in
weeks.
conditions, or you go home every night?
No, theirs was not live-in.
Okay.
Unlike the state, you went home each night.
Okay. That's a lengthy program, 5 months, isn't it?
Very long.
Okay.
Yes,
So you're helping people who are training to be law enforcement people. What, simple accident or traffic investigation techniques?
Oh, that was part of it.
Okay.
Criminal investigation,
Okay.
constitutional law, criminal law, traffic law.
Oh, a little bit of everything.
A lot of
Okay.
physical fitness.
Okay.
Every day they worked out.
And you were teaching them at the pistol range or whatever?
Firearms, yep.
Okay. So in the meantime, while this 20-year career is going on, are you getting married? Married, kids? Or whatever?
Actually, I got married before I went to the academy.
Okay, all right.
So my wife and I guess
So
you
we got
could
to go back
say-
20 years. Okay.
Yeah, I guess you could say we kind of grew up in law enforcement together.
Good for her. Okay.
From that perspective.
Okay. Children, Jay?
3 children,
Okay.
2 daughters and a son.
Any of them in law enforcement? Or?
Only my son. All 3 said they would never go into law enforcement.
As my kid said about teaching them. Okay.
But actually my son was a paramedic here in Queen Anne's County for about 5 years.
I didn't know.
And he called me up one day and said, "Dad, you'll never guess what I did." Of course, when your children tell you that, you start
You know
wondering.
you're in trouble, right? You know you're in trouble, Jay.
He said, "I became a police officer." All right,
Good for
I'm
him.
getting accepted,
Good for
into
him.
the academy. But his is a little different. It's on the federal level.
Okay, where is he? Naval Academy or?
That's that building we're not supposed to talk about.
Oh, okay. I don't want to know. We won't ask. They'll shoot us if we tell them. Okay. Well, good for him. How about the daughters? What are they doing?
My oldest daughter is still in college. She took a career change, I guess you would call it, and went back to college to be a physical therapist.
Good for her.
And my youngest daughter is in Florida. She graduated with her
The
master's
smart one in the
degree.
family. And when it's 10 degrees outside, she's in Florida.
She's in
right?
Florida.
Good
right.
for her. Okay. Now, how about your wife? A full-time mom? Or
Registered nurse.
Oh, she's a nurse.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was a full-time mom until the kids grew up, and then she wanted to pursue a career. Went to nursing school at a later age, and that's
Good for her.
what she
And she's
says
still a
today.
nurse now, or is she retired? Where is she?
Now she's in Anne Arundel.
Good for
She
her.
was in Easton for about 5 years, and now she's in Anne Arundel.
Okay. So you had it sounds like a great, what rank did you come out with out of Anne Arundel County?
Corporal.
Corporal, okay. So you had 20 years there, driving around in police cars, helping with traffic divisions, internal investigations, so to speak, and teaching at the academy. Where'd you go after that, after you retired?
Well, I took a little early retirement and opened up a private investigative
I didn't know.
company.
Again, across the bridge?
Yes.
Here? Okay, across the bridge.
And primarily I worked for subcontracted to insurance companies
Okay,
to investigate insurance fraud.
okay.
And I did that for a little over a year, about a year and a half. And then I learned that I wasn't ready to quit law enforcement.
Oh, you still had the bug. Well,
Yeah.
you were a young man. What were you at that point, 45 or younger?
44.
44, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So where to go? You decided it was your own company? The private
Yes,
investigation? So out of that, where'd you go?
Well, I guess it was during that period of time. I talked about getting back into law enforcement. And one day my wife saw in the Record Observer.
Were you living here? Where were you
Yes.
living? Okay.
Yeah.
In Queen Anne's County. Okay.
Yeah, I actually moved here about 3 years before I retired from Anne Arundel.
So you were commuting over to the academy
For
from
about
here?
3 years.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my wife picked up the Record Observer and said, "Look at this. They're looking for deputy sheriffs."
Okay.
So I said, why not?
Why not?
Put in an application, got hired, and started all over from the bottom.
So you came in. Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah.
You came. Okay. So now this was. Give me approximate years so I can kind of figure out the years.
That would have been 1999.
All right, 1999. Okay. So you were actually on the road share. What did they have you doing when you first got on board?
I was back in patrol on the road of
Okay.
Queen Anne's County.
Okay.
And then I guess it was about a year later, they asked me to go into the Drug Task Force.
All right.
So I worked there undercover for 2 years.
You were an undercover person. Okay. And you never done that before.
Not in Anne Arundel, I did
No,
not.
okay.
Yeah, so that was new and exciting.
Just for the heck of it, we'll continue with your career here, but a big difference between Anne Arundel, is law enforcement no matter where you go, or is
Well,
because of the population and the character, are we different or what?
it is different. The job itself doesn't change.
Okay.
Whether you investigate an armed robbery here or Anne Arundel, You know, it's the same techniques, investigative techniques. I think the difference is in Queen Anne's County, it seems to be much more community-oriented.
All right.
And I'll never forget the first day.
Community-oriented, I mean, you get to know the people?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody knows, there's no secrets in Queen Anne's County, right?
Well, there might be a few, but
okay.
Yeah, the residents of Queen Anne's County have and the Sheriff's Office has a great working relationship.
Okay.
And not that Anne Arundel didn't, but they're such a large agency and such a populated county. You get to know people.
And near to an urban center, right? You got Baltimore on one side and 495 Beltway right up the road, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's much more personable type policing. And I can't go anywhere in the county without somebody
knows
stopping
you, right?
to talk about
sure.
it. Yep. They wave to you, they talk to you.
I don't know about you, but as a school administrator, it was great because I go into Acme and they say, Fred, the kids are smoking behind the stadium at 3 o'clock. That community relationship where people wanted to help, and I'm sure law enforcement gets the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's or you see somebody in church. Did you know that type of thing? So that helps. Okay.
It does. Yeah.
So you were undercover agent for 2 years? Okay, where do we go from there? By the way, how is it? Is that as glamorous or is it not as glamorous as I mean, TV? If I wanted to be a policeman, I think I'd go undercover. You let your hair grow, or is that just all blonde?
It's not that glamorous.
Okay.
It's very, you know, mostly you work with informants. They do most of the work for you.
Okay.
You do the paperwork. You do go with them, but most of the time transactions are made through informants.
Okay, and it could be extremely dangerous, right? Is when these things backfire occasionally or not.
Well, they could be, but I'll be honest, I think the routine traffic stop is probably a lot more dangerous.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because you're always going into the unknown.
Okay, you don't know when you stop who you're stopping, which is crazy.
Exactly.
So, I'm sorry, 2 years undercover, and where'd you go after that?
Then I was promoted to the rank of corporal, went through the testing process, and they put me on the road as a first-line supervisor.
Okay, so you're kind of a boss of a shift. Yes, okay.
Then sometime after that, I got promoted to the rank of sergeant.
So you're going right up the ladder here.
Working up the ladder, and never expected that after I retired the first time.
Okay. Obviously it was a big advantage, right, with all your 20 years experience in Anne Arundel County?
Yeah, I think it helped.
Yeah, which was good. Now, who was the sheriff when you started?
It'd be Sheriff Crosley hired me.
Okay, so he hired you. Okay, all right. So you're head of it. You're a sergeant. You're a shift captain, or in charge of a shift. How long did you do that now?
Oh, let's see. That would have been until 2006.
Okay.
And that's when I was promoted to the rank of captain, at which time we had a...
And that's a big jump. In the military, that'd be an amazing jump. So law enforcement, the same thing, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes. And that's also when Sheriff Crosley retired.
Okay. Now, what does a captain do different from a sergeant in charge of the shifts? Are you in charge of... What does a captain do?
Well, we have 3 major divisions. We have the Field Operations Division, which is patrol.
They're the ones I see out on the road and people see out on the road.
Criminal investigations, and we have the support services, which is kind of an accumulation of different units.
Okay.
So we have a lieutenant in charge of each unit.
All right.
And the captain would oversee the 3 lieutenants in charge of those 3
How many
divisions.
captains would our force have?
We just have 1 captain.
Oh, just 1 captain.
And then a major, which is what I am now.
All right. So the captain, you're watching all these lieutenants who are in charge of divisions. Right? I got that right? Okay.
Right.
So that's administrative responsibility, and you got to worry about the guys and gals out in the road, and you got everything to worry about, right?
Just like the military, it's a tiered system.
Okay. All right. You're going right up to chain of command. Now, how long were you captain?
Oh, you caught me there.
That's all right. A couple years.
Several years.
Don't worry about the years. A couple years. So you went from captain, captain to major, another big promotion, okay? And the major's the number 2 person, right?
Yes.
So tell me what a major does.
Well,
besides, you said at the beginning, you basically run the, am I correct? You run the force on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, now as major, pretty much it is almost all administrative.
Okay.
And I'm in charge of the budget process, the accreditation. We're an accredited law enforcement agency.
Now, what does that mean?
We, through the Commission on Accreditation, we are an accredited law enforcement agency, which means we meet certain standards.
So some national standards.
National standards.
You have to, okay.
Right. And there's only about 6% of all law enforcement agencies are accredited.
Is that right?
So we're very,
congratulations.
very
That's a big
proud
thing then, right?
Yeah.
Now, is there like they come down and basically inspect you, or?
Oh yes, every 3 years.
Oh, every 3 years. And you have to make sure you're doing what type of thing, what do they look for?
Well, everything.
Everything, okay. You're doing your paperwork right, the cars are working,
Yep.
and the community relations program's working.
Paperwork to vehicles
Okay.
to
It's like a college
weapons.
accreditation program. You're meeting these standards, right?
Yes.
Which is interesting. Let me ask you this. Okay, you've got 20 years in Anne County, 99 to now here. Does that sound right? Okay, so we're 16 years here. Is that,
16,
okay, good.
be 17 in June.
If you took that line, what's the biggest difference, or what are some of the differences you see in law enforcement from way back 36 years ago? I guess my numbers are right to now. I mean, what jumps out?
Technology.
Okay, and that's you're talking
use of
computers and
technology.
cell phones. And,
Yeah, we used to carry quarters in our pocket because the cell phone wasn't used yet.
so when you started, you actually go to a for real?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Go to a phone?
We'd have to
payphone?
yeah, if someone wanted to talk to you outside of the police radio,
Right.
you know, you'd have to look for a telephone at the local 7-Eleven or wherever.
Well, the thing that amazes me, knowing nothing about law enforcement, when I think of looking at my father's best man at his wedding was a D.C. policeman, and he would take me for rides occasionally around town. And he basically it was a Ford with a radio. Now I go in a car, I see on the console here a computer, and I see all this elaborate gear. I mean, is that totally changing?
Oh yeah. We of course we did have a police radio. We did not have air conditioning in the cars.
So you roll down the window.
You roll down the window. We did not have obviously no computers in the car or cell phone. Trying to think, we didn't even have AM/FM radios in the car.
So
very
if I sat in, if I'm at the driver's seat now, what do I see? It looked like to me, I was in a state police car recently, and there's a computer on a console here.
Right.
What else what do you have at your hands now as a law enforcement person that helps you?
Well, on the console itself, you're going to have the box for the siren. Okay. You're going to have the box for the radio.
These are all things you just have to touch to get on. Okay.
Right. You'll have a box for the lighting system, you know, the emergency lights.
Okay.
And then, of course, you'll have the computer as well.
All right. Okay.
And police vehicles are called mobile data transmitters. Basically, it's a laptop.
It's a laptop. Okay. Now, what if, let's go to the computer. You can get what? Anything on anybody? Or what does the policeman use a laptop computer for?
Well, for starters, it's used to write the reports.
Okay,
so
so
they don't have to respond back to headquarters anymore and be off the road. Right. They can do it on the road, stay within their beat. So that's part of it. The other part too is we're connected to the state system. So if I stop you on traffic, I get your driver's license.
Right.
All I have to do is swipe it, just like they do at the
actually take the driver's.
Yeah,
okay.
just like you do it with a debit card.
Okay.
Swipe it, because on the back is all of your information. Right. Comes up on the computer.
So on my driver's license, really, I didn't even know that. Okay, so you're swiping it when you ask for my license and whatever you ask for, you just take it and you're actually going to swipe it, and it gives you what? Fred McNeil address and any prior record or that type of thing.
Let me know who you are and what you've been up to and whether you wanted for something or not.
Okay. How about I'm seeing more and more, and you tell me again, TV news reports. Filming everything. Good idea, bad idea, makes sense for everybody, or I mean, is it helping you? I don't know, the public.
Talking about the body cameras?
Body cameras mounted on the side of the cars.
Well, we've had cameras on the dash-mounted cameras, we refer to them as, for quite a few years now.
Okay.
Probably 2007, if I remember correctly. They've been around a long time, and that does help because it can help you with the collection of evidence. If there's false allegations made, a lot of times you can pick up that information either audibly or on video. Body cameras, whole different world. I'm not sure where we're heading with that. Right now, I think they're pretty much
No, the body cameras, I understand, each policeman will have on them, just like we have microphones now. There'll be a camera.
Right.
Right, okay.
And that's pretty much in the testing stage. I'm not sure where law enforcement is going to end up with it. I know there is a push in certain states and to some degree by the federal government to do that. but they're very expensive systems to
Is it helping
purchase.
law enforcement or hindering, do you think?
I think it can do both,
Okay.
actually,
All right,
depending
okay.
on circumstances.
Okay.
Sure.
If used properly, it's a good thing. If misused, it's going to cause some problems. All right.
Yeah. And there's a host of things to look at. For example, you know, who's going to purchase them, how much are you going to spend, how long are you going to retain the records, who's going to have access to those records,
Okay.
when
So
should
this
the
is
camera
all
be
to be
on.
worked out. This
Exactly.
is going to be. How about people always say, how about the taser? I mean, the kids, that's all I hear with kids. Hey, do you have a, they walk up to the policeman, hey, do you have a taser? That's a helpful tool now? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, does everyone carry a taser? Okay.
Yeah, I think in terms of law enforcement, having a less lethal weapon like that kind of fills a void. Because when I started out, you had a pistol on one end, and we know what that can do.
Right.
And you had your nightstick on the other end,
Right.
and there was really nothing
Nothing
much
in
in
between.
the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, then we started carrying different sprays,
The pepper spray and all that used to be, okay, okay.
which, you know, that was a great tool at the time, but there's problems with that as well. So I think the taser actually fills a void.
Now the taser, as I understand it, you point it just like a weapon, correct? And you're actually shooting what, like a cord?
Yep.
Or?
They're called darts. There's
Okay.
2 of them,
All right.
and they are attached by way of a wire to the weapon itself.
Is that basically what knockout? You're putting the electrical charge in the person, which is knocking him out. Is that correct? I
Yes,
don't know.
it's
Yeah.
high voltage but
Okay.
low amps.
All right.
So what it does is it will make you lose control of your muscles, so that basically you just collapse.
Okay.
But it doesn't do any long-term damage.
And then you can, whatever you have to do to put yourself in a safer position, that type of thing.
Right.
Where are we going to play? Now you can have some fun here, all right? Well, before
Would
that,
you like to try the taser?
No, no, no.
I have one on standby. Okay.
I'm a chicken. You see the yellow stripe down the back? Let me ask you this. One thing I want to make sure you get out. You're a professor now. You're teaching part-time.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that, because I was impressed this summer when you were telling me about it.
Well, once again, kind of have to go back to my wife a little bit.
Okay.
She always thought that I would do a good
She's
job.
reading the classifieds ads
She
every
must
day, I
be.
think. What's her name? First name?
Maria.
Maria,
Yes.
okay. Maria, you're a good woman.
Of course, I had been teaching at the academy, and she
Okay.
saw an ad for adjunct professors at Chesapeake and said, I think this would be something good for you to do.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, she might deny it, if I remember correctly, I think she actually called and got a copy of or got the application for
and
me to
everything.
fill out.
Okay.
So this is actually my 21st year.
Of teaching adjunct classes.
yeah.
Now, and just for the public, I mean, I learned a lot from you talking this summer. You can get a certificate, one or two, you tell me, one or two. Why does a policeman go, or prospective policeman? Who's taking your courses?
Well, it's a wide variety. You do have students that come in that want to be law enforcement officers. Some would like to be crime scene technicians, parole and probation agents. We get a wide variety.
Okay, people who just have an interest in law enforcement.
And some just take it as an elective.
Okay, what are the titles of some of the courses you teach?
Well, this semester I teach Introduction to Law
So
Enforcement.
that's for the beginning, that's for class 1, okay.
And then in the fall I typically teach Police Administration.
Okay, which is
Which
teaching
is
you,
the behind the scenes,
okay.
the administrative end.
It'd
what
be
happens
interesting
behind the
stuff, wouldn't it?
scenes. So I think it is.
Now, are we required, are we going to the point where, do most police officers have an AA degree or a certificate or a bachelor's degree? Is there a trend in police?
Yeah, I've seen more and more officers get degrees, and even if they don't finish, at least get some college education.
Okay.
In the state of Maryland, it's still not a requirement, but it certainly is a good thing to have. Not only do you come out more knowledgeable, but I think it increases your chances of getting hired.
Okay.
Because you're competing with other people.
All right,
So
okay.
the more degrees or the more education you have.
the better we all are, whether you're a teacher, a
Right.
policeman, whatever. Now that you're a professor, everyone knows you're a professor. How about we'll get the crystal ball? You've seen in the last 3 decades law enforcement change from the computer and the tasers. Where do you think, I mean, I see RoboCop. And I know that's not but you see RoboCop and you say, where in the world, I mean, there are now robotic vehicles assisting policemen to detonate weapons, go into
Yes.
hostage situations. I mean, you've got, I believe, a small plane in the county's force. We have boats or zodiacs or whatever.
Right.
Where are we going? You know, what do you see? Have some fun with this if you'd like. Where are we going with law enforcement in the next 10, 20 years?
Well, with technology changing so rapidly, it's kind of difficult to foresee. But I would say one thing is cameras and facial recognition.
Oh, okay.
We're seeing more and more cameras being mounted, especially in hot areas, hotspot areas. And I think it's to the point, and they're actually doing this in Europe now, is where they're using the cameras, linked obviously to computer systems, that can do facial recognition.
So there's a camera at where there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, and they're scanning the audience or focusing on the, no, I said the audience, people walking by. And if a face comes up that the computer addresses, hey, we got to pay attention here. That's what you're talking about?
Just like fingerprints, yeah.
Okay, just like fingerprints.
So I would have to say that that's probably going to be something that will continue in the future.
Okay, all right. And so you think technology is going to lead the way like in law enforcement, like it's doing everywhere else? Well, it's going to be fun. I mean, I can't imagine you when you first got in law enforcement in a police car, you had to roll down the window to get some fresh air. You've got a radio, right, which you hope works, right?
6-shooter.
There you go. And
no automatic weapons.
Okay, and next thing you know, at the end, in the middle of the end of your career, you're talking about everything's online. I have tasers. I'm filming everything. It's going to be very interesting, isn't it?
It will be. Yes.
Well, one thing I want to make sure I do. What's your last question? What's your secret? I think Queen Anne's County Sheriff's Department has a wonderful reputation among the citizens of the county. I mean, you hear everybody say, they're a bunch of good people. I mean, they help us. And it got, like you said, talking about earlier about citizens tips. And what do you guys do? How do you do that? I mean, I think you're doing a great job.
With
creating this goodwill. Is it, I mean, I'm sure it's something you and the sheriff work on every day.
Oh, absolutely.
But is it by putting names and faces out in the public or being seen?
Yes, it really is. The sheriff and or myself, we try to attend every community event.
And I see you every time any event I go to, you guys are there.
Yeah, typically one or both of us are. Or one of the lieutenants or the captain, and that I think maintains good community relations and keeps us, in touch with the people and what's happening.
And you do a great job of it. I want you to know, over the summer I learned everybody, individual police officers, the whole system. And my favorite is when you go to a fair and all the kids walking around with little sheriff's buttons and stuff
they love
like that.
those.
Good PR, right? And that's real good stuff. Right?
They love those.
Well, Jim, look, thank you very much
my
for
pleasure.
taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Good job. Tell your wife, keep checking those classified ads.
I certainly will.
Don't go anywhere in a hurry, okay? And I'd like to thank you for being with us, all right?
My pleasure. Thank you.
This is Fred McNeil. Thank you for watching Fireside Chat. We've had a delightful talk with Major Jim Williams, who's given us some secrets about the local police department and how that whole world is changing. So thank you very much for being with us. My time's up. Thank you for your time, and we're going to see you next time.